Is Gabby. You muted, darling. Gabby, you're muted. Gabby, you're unmuted.
Oh, God, Ramon. Hello, Pete.
Now you're unmuted.
Good.
You're right there.
Ramon, we just need a few minutes before you come on. If you could disappear for 5 minutes, please.
I'll do my hair, okay?
Okay, bye.
Yeah. We got Skip. It's how are you?
I'm okay. Let's see. Oh, there's Skip. Hey, we're all here. Hey.
Okay. Skip
Oh,
and Gabby.
gosh.
Skip
Pete,
and Gabby,
where
you
the
should
heck-
not.
Oh, where are you?
Me? I'm in Cambodia.
I love your motorbikes.
Do you like it?
Yeah, and the color, the pink that you're wearing is brilliant to go with those
Is that
motorbikes.
for Cambodia? I can be in this bit of Cambodia as well. Or that
Oh,
bit?
can I do that too? I can't do
because
that.
they're on my computer. Or we can go down the Tonle Sap. Which would you prefer? Where would you
How
like
about
me?
maybe at the palace?
I haven't got Palace.
What's that?
That's kind of
That looks like Shanghai.
but I quite like a bit of street scene. Right, Skip, you should be able to record now. You should, I've given you permission, so you should at the bottom of your screen have a record button. If you wiggle your mouse near the bottom, just somewhere to the right of participants and chat, you should have a recording button, have you? You got it?
Yep.
So if you click on that, then it'll change because then you get a pause stop button instead of the round one.
Oh gosh, somebody just sent me a note saying she can't get the details. Hold on a second, I got to send her the details. Damn.
Hi, Pete.
Hi,
Oh,
Skip.
How are you, bud?
I'm good. How are you?
I feel like I have lost 50 pounds, like I've had a tumor cut out of my brain. I feel it's amazing.
Huh?
That's because it is a tumor.
It is. It's just this toxic, anyhow, I'm great.
Gabby, does Skip have access to your emails?
No.
Okay.
Why?
Well, I was just thinking if anybody else emailed you going, I'm having trouble, I'm having whatever.
You know what? It's
Yeah.
actually it was on my phone, so I'm going to take him the phone because if anyone
Cool.
sends that
Do
message.
that, because then everything will come through, won't it? Whether it's on Messenger or email or whatever.
Someone offered to send the invites out for that reason, but someone else declined.
I just replied back to them.
I should imagine that control was wanted to be kept.
Oh, I'm going to mute when I'm done.
Yeah. Okay, anything else that you need from me, Skip?
No, I don't think so. Hey, do you know, can I take screen grabs? I want to take screen grabs while it's recording.
You should be able to. You on a laptop?
Yeah, so I know how to take screen grabs, but I wonder if I can reduce the field. It won't interrupt. It won't
No, it
interrupt.
shouldn't do. It shouldn't interrupt at all. I was doing screen grabs when I was on yours, and it didn't seem to interrupt whatever was recorded.
Oh, it says you cannot minimize Zoom when you're recording the meeting. So yeah, I can't.
Can't you do it from your keyboard?
I just did. I can do a screen grab.
Yeah.
But then there's no way for me to get to my email field to save it because you can't minimize the meeting. And
Oh, got you. Does it not just save it automatically somewhere on your laptop?
it does, but it'll just let me do one. I wanted to take a series to try to catch everybody or a bunch of people.
Okay.
Okay, I'll grab my phone. I'll just take a picture of it.
All right, do that, and I'll take some screen grabs on mine.
All right, thanks, Pete.
Okay, so technically we're all right then.
Technically, I think we're A-okay.
Brilliant. You feeling okay?
Yeah?
You feeling good?
Okay.
You're looking nicely centered there.
Well, I'm wearing my Lotus colors as well.
Excuse me.
Right. Somebody else just came on the phone. Okay, bye.
We've got Skip Photopoulos.
Well, we've got a box. It says his name, but I don't see anybody. He was struggling to figure out the logistics, so I'm not sure if he's going to be there or if he's just a little bot. Oh, and we've got
It's
Ramon
Rahman.
popping in from Cambodia.
Can I come? Can I come?
I'm not sure what happened.
Oh,
Oh, look. Is that Toyota? Look at you. Hello. Hi, kitty.
Is he really called Toyota?
Oh,
Or is that just who Toyota was based on?
it's fiction.
So's the cat.
Oh, wow, I didn't
Hey.
know- oh, you got Matthew.
Matthew came and then disappeared.
He's being elusive.
Always is.
It's all, and he's
Hey,
here.
Matthew.
You've
Oh,
got
you're
an
mute.
excess of bald man.
Matthew is muted.
I am unmuted now.
There you are. Hello,
I'm the only-
darling.
I'm the only guy with hair on this call.
Hello.
Yeah, Skip, you need to razor now.
Sorry, Kitty.
I love this. So we've got just the Cambodian people on here, the people in the middle of the night.
The ones that are waiting to go to bed.
Exactly.
Hour.
Oh. What is it, 11?
Now
12.
it's midnight.
Ah,
Oh,
you're going to
My
turn
Matthew,
into a
have your shirt
pumpkin.
on inside out.
No, I did not put it inside out. You're
oh.
lucky. You're lucky I have one on.
No trousers.
But
That's the Zoom
well, that remains to be seen.
Oh, it does it?
Yeah.
Anyone, I
Yeah.
don't think anyone wears trousers anymore.
That's the second half of the call.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Gabby, am
love
I
it.
echoing for you? Am I echoing in there for you?
I can hear you talking in the next room, but it's not echoing on the computer,
All
no.
right, because I'll mute if I.
Once
Cool.
you're muted, it will all be fine. And I
Yeah,
don't know,
we've got no feedback this time.
and Skip Photopoulos, if you're there, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Well,
And
you've
what
got your video off as well, Skip Photopoulos.
And you have to go to that little square in the top right-hand corner where it says mute or unmute.
By the way, for those of you who don't know, Skip Photopoulos is my junior high school history teacher.
Mm.
One of my parents' dear, dear, dear friends, and one of our dear friends from my hometown, Greenfield, Massachusetts. So
Well, fun.
he just had, I'll just say, a significant birthday.
And he's never used Zoom before.
Yeah.
Ah,
Oh my gosh. Well, who's the facilitator? Who is this used, Gabby?
that's me. Okay, so
Oh.
Skip Photopoulos, if
Yeah,
you want to
can
know how
go
to
up.
turn your camera on, in the bottom left of your screen, you should have a little button that allows you to start video or stop video. There you go, you found it. We now have your face.
Hey,
Uh,
But we can't hear you.
You can unmute him as well, I believe, if you are,
Really?
if whoever set up the.
Yeah, I can't. I can ask to unmute, but I can't actually
Won't
unmute.
actually. Well, if
Oh,
you
it's me and all the boys. This is great.
right, if you send him an unmute,
Yeah, I've
request,
done that.
pop up on his screen.
yeah, you can see.
There I
we
go.
There,
Now we
brilliant.
can hear
Okay.
you, Skip.
Hey.
I love you guys, and Gabby, my mermaid with legs. I think of you often as I turn in bed. You can ask me who I slept with last night, but not who I voted for.
Okay. Hey, Wend. Hello, darling.
I won the battle. So now the tough part comes. We're gonna have to
Okay.
reorganize our government. We need you guys to come back and help.
Right.
We don't need your money.
Thank God, Jonathan's here, another man with hair.
Jonathan and Helen. Wendy, you're muted.
Gabby, I'm gonna leave you.
What do you mean you're going to leave me?
Well, I don't want to interrupt what you're doing. You've got nice, wonderful people there, and I've said my piece. I love you guys. I got your book coming in the mail, and I've already shared Skip's last book with a neighbor,
Skip, the way this
a
works
very
is,
viable,
okay, but
your
you don't
Lotus
have to,
Whisper
you
of
don't
the
have to
Lotus.
go anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. We're just going to mute you and you will be part of the audience.
All right, good.
You just stay there and
Good.
watch. That's
You
all
just
you
have
need
to
to
listen.
do.
Go Red
Angela.
Sox.
Okay.
Good morning, good evening.
Hello,
Hi.
West Coast. Hello, Lisa.
Woo, West Coast.
Hello, Angela. West Coast, Cyprus, everybody. Hi.
Happy birthday to you.
Not yet.
Almost. Happy birthday.
Here it is in 2 minutes, your birthday.
Not here. And Sam, you don't have a visual. Tracy. Hi. Zoe. Hey.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Zoe and I have never actually met in person. We're Facebook friends.
Oh, how fun.
Yep, she's a fellow author in South Africa.
It's super hot here. Like I'm melting.
Really, aren't you lucky?
Oh no, I just went for a swim. I went for a run and like there's thunder and yeah, it's hectic hot today.
Yeah. Sam, if you're there, we can't see you or hear you, sweetie. Sam. There's Philip and Kaya. Serbia just arrived. Hi.
You got Gail, you got the Psychotronics joining you.
Who's the Psychotronics?
Psychotronic.
Oh,
Don't ask me. The
Are you really? Don't ask me
Psychotronic
either.
Love Commando.
No, I am the Psychotronic Love Commando.
Oh, for
Excellent.
goodness sake. Hello, you.
Every
Alright.
call needs one of them.
It's a reference to a Zodiac Mind Walk song.
Jolly good. Thank you for standing out and being different.
No worries. I'll be back with you in a moment.
Okay.
Okay, we give it a minute or so, Gabs.
Yes, okay. It's
That's
on
still
the
got a few
nose right now.
joining.
Wow, everybody's popping in. Hi.
Oh, I guess it's time for me to go. My brother just showed up.
Who said that?
I did.
Oh, right. Of course you did.
There's Janske.
Lynn. Hi. Long time no see. Oh, this is so cool. It's so hard not talking to everybody. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Gab.
Is everybody muted by standard?
No.
Well,
No,
yeah,
at the moment people can
actually,
unmute.
yeah, most people mute themselves in a meeting like this. Otherwise, you get somebody
Perfect.
making noise and that. And so, yeah, it's kind of now the Zoom protocol.
Hi, Emma.
You can unmute yourself, Ramon.
Now we've got two screens. Oh, Judy. So it's only me and you that can talk now, I guess, Pete.
Well, we can.
No, at the moment
respond.
other people can unmute.
Yeah, we can unmute. If you have a question, somebody
You just
can
get a
jump
bit
in.
of rabble.
Mhm.
Right. But then this way you don't get people talking over and you don't get Ramon's noisy cats meowing in the background.
Kirsty.
Okay, we've got 34, Gabby. Should we kick off?
Why not? It's 5:02 UK time. Time to kick off. Why not?
So, welcome everybody to Gabby's book launch. It's my pleasure to host you today. We've got people from, obviously, we're having another book launch during a worldwide pandemic. which does mean that rather than having 4 old people and a dog in a bookshop in Eastbourne, we get to launch a book with fabulous people from all over the world. So give us a wave if you are here from the UK. If you're here from West Coast USA. If you're here from East Coast USA. South Africa. Cyprus. Portugal. France. Some of these might be joining in a bit. Serbia. Hey! The Netherlands. And all the way from Cambodia. Fabulous. So for those who aren't used to Zoom, at the moment we've put everyone on mute. That just helps so that we can all hear Gabby. There'll be a chance for some questions at the end, so you're very welcome to unmute yourself then. But for now, I'd ask if you can keep yourself on mute. For those who aren't used to how they can view things, in the top right of your screen, you've got a button that says view and you get a choice. You can either watch in gallery, which means you get everybody in little boxes, or there's an option that is called speaker view. That means whoever's speaking is going to be big on your screen. You might prefer to watch on speaker view when Gabby is talking about her fabulous book, or you might prefer to stay on gallery and then you get everyone's faces in little boxes. It's completely your call. So anyhow, the main event. Gabby Yetter. Sweet, colourful, multi-layered, sophisticated, bit sickly, quite nutty. That is just some of the desserts in Gabby's first book, A Taste of Cambodia. One of my favourite books, one of my favourite cookbooks still to turn to when I've got people coming around for dinner who I really don't like. But Gabby, of course, is none of those things. I don't need to say anything much about Gabby. All of you know her. That's why you're here today. That and the fact that you know if you didn't show up, she would just bombard you with photos of cats 5 times a day for the rest of your life. Seriously, we are here to talk about Gabby's latest book. So hi, Gabby, unmute yourself. I'm unmuting you. Say hi.
Hi, it's lovely to see everybody.
So after a lot of travel writing and a guide to quitting the rat race and a fabulous book on desserts and 2 children's books, you are now giving us a novel. And what are the public already saying about your novel? They are saying, I could not wait to turn the page and read what was coming next. Like binge watching a favorite Netflix show, I didn't want to stop. A cast of colorful characters. On the edge of your seat read. Short, punchy chapters that end with fantastic hooks to demand you keep reading, and twists and turns that keep the story hurtling. A character-driven page-turner that leaves you with lots to think about. A story that explores both the complexities of human relationships and the consequences of choice. That is what people already are saying about Whisper of the Lotus. I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about your book. We're going to hear some readings. There'll be a chance then for other people to ask some questions towards the end. Gabby, why don't you kick us off with reading the very beginning of the novel?
Sure, it's a good place to start. And just very briefly before I do so, I know that today is a hugely significant day around the world, and to all my friends and family in the United States, yes, I'm so happy. And thank goodness this didn't happen today, because then nobody would be on the call and you'd all be watching the CNN. But I'm just very excited and very happy, and we were celebrating here as well. So I just wanted to put that out there first. And now I'll read a bit from the book because I've been instructed to do so by my instructor. So I'm going to start off at the very beginning because it starts with the prologue to where the story goes, and this is the first page. Book. Charlotte stared along the corridor. Fluorescent hospital lights cast a yellow tinge on the walls, and the gentle throb from the air conditioner vibrated in her ears. Ahead, 4 doors were numbered: 23, 24, 25, 26. The last door, number 26, was the door to his room. She took a deep breath, remembering what she'd learned from her time in this part of the world. Relax. Be here now. Trust all will be well. Her mind flashed back to a day 7 years ago, the last time she'd seen him. The tone of his voice when he'd spoken to her mother was cemented in her mind, the sadness in his eyes painted in her memory. And she'd always be haunted by the image of him walking down the path, getting into his car and driving away. Now he was steps away and she was scared. Her thin cotton blouse stuck to her clammy back and her hand trembled as she tucked a lock of hair behind her ear. It was too late to turn around. She'd set the wheels in motion and she couldn't back down now. So that's the opening.
That's the opening. It's fabulous. It draws you in with so many questions. Who is she visiting? Who is this person? Why is it taking so long? And then I love that your first actual chapter after that prologue starts with 57 days earlier. And we know that's where we're heading, and we go right back 57 days. We'll come back to 57 days later because that's a significant number. But first of all, I know some people have read, will have had a chance to read this book. Many of us haven't. So tell us, in a nutshell, how would you describe the story?
Oh, well, it's set in present time, and the main character in the book, Charlotte Fontaine, is a young woman with very little joy in her life. She lives at home with her alcoholic mother. Her father left home and walked out on them 6 years ago, and her best friend Roxy moved to Cambodia. Then something happens to free up time for her, and she suddenly decides impulsively to book a ticket to Cambodia. This is something that is a huge stretch for her. She's never traveled alone before. She's nervous of everything. She's nervous of travel. She's nervous of bugs. She doesn't like the heat. She's afraid of getting sick, and she's scared of traveling alone. But what she doesn't realize is on the way there, she's going to meet a mysterious stranger on the plane, an old man who sits next to her and introduces ideas to her about her life and about her journey that she had never realized before. This meeting sets her off on a quest, and that quest takes her through Cambodia and meets a variety of characters. She meets a Buddhist monk who teaches her about Buddhism. She meets a man who survived the Khmer Rouge, a tuk-tuk driver, Saman, who is an actual person in our lives. And she meets somebody who reminds her of her mother. And so while she's going on this excursion, I'm hearing buzzing in the background. I'm not sure where that's coming from. But basically she discovers secrets that she had no idea, and towards the end of the book, you discover that she actually did come to Cambodia for a reason. She had no idea at the time, but the things that unfold are enough to teach her that there is a reason for everything.
Fantastic. In a nutshell, because it's quite hard to encompass, but it's this fantastic story of a woman who goes on a journey and ends up on a journey not the one that she expected.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And discovers all sorts of things along the way. Tell us a bit more. How would you describe Charlotte as a person?
Well, Charlotte starts off as being very timid and really under the thumb of her insufferable alcoholic mother, and she is afraid to do anything for herself. However, once she's taken that first step and gone to Cambodia, there's magic that happens between the people that she meets and the experiences that she has. And little by little, she discovers what her life is about, and she discovers what it means to trust. And along those paths, she finds a way to become strong, to become independent, and to be able to cut free from a lot of the things that have held her back throughout most of her life.
And she's 23, 24?
She is 22.
22.
When did you were 23?
Is she like you at that age?
In some ways, yes, in some ways, no. One of the things that did jump out for me when you asked me that question is when I was 22, my friend Wendy and I decided that we were going to leave South Africa and go and travel around the world. Well, actually travel to the USA. She and I really didn't have a huge clue about what we were doing at the time. We took a couple of extra jobs, made some money, got on a flight, and ended up in the United States and traveled around there and figured things out as we could. So I guess in that way, there's a little bit of Charlotte, not in the way of being timid and afraid to go places, because we weren't. We were very adventurous and gung-ho. But also I think a little bit in the naivety. Charlotte is very naive, and parts of me were just trusting that everything would work out and being a little naive and not realizing that things weren't always what they seemed. So a little bit of yes, a little bit of no.
And she goes to Cambodia to hook up with her best friend, Roxy, who she's been slightly estranged from for a while. Tell us a bit about Roxy. How would you describe her? Well,
Roxy is actually based loosely on a woman that I did meet, or Skip and I met when we were living in Cambodia. She was an artist. She ran a crazy artist shop, and she was totally off the wall. We loved her to bits, and we became quite good friends with her, but you never quite knew what was going to come out of her mouth. And so Roxy is a little bit that way as well. She's a crazy artist. She decided she wanted to take off, explore the world. She met somebody in Cambodia. She ended up living there and getting married there. And she is now she is the main reason for Charlotte coming there. And she's also a reason for some of the things that happen to her when she gets there.
And is there friendship like friendships that you had at that age?
Yeah, I guess, like being Wendy. Hey, Wens. Yeah, we took off on an adventure. I wouldn't say our personalities were like her, but I think the sense of adventure and wanting to do something different was like her and I. And we had some crazy adventures, as Roxy and Charlotte did. We had experiences there where we ended up one time driving around Las Vegas and sleeping in our car because we couldn't afford a hotel room. And then we met somebody in New Orleans in a really dodgy neighborhood, got locked out of our hotel and had to try and break down the door of the hotel to get back in again. So there were a lot of mad things that we did. And some of those things are a little bit like Charlotte and Roxy. So I think there's a bit.
That sounds like a very Charlotte and Roxy adventure to me. I can imagine them doing. So there are two central characters that we're really following. There are loads of other beautifully drawn, rich characters in it, a lot of whom we're going to keep secret today. But for me, the third main character in it, I would say, is Cambodia itself, which is just so richly painted by you. You can smell it and you can hear it and you can taste it. And we get to see Cambodia through Charlotte's eyes, someone who knew virtually nothing about this place before she gets there. What do you tell us a bit about what are her first impressions of Cambodia?
Well, Charlotte's first impressions of Cambodia are completely overwhelmed and afraid of riding on a tuk-tuk. She thought she was going to fall out in the middle of the street when they turned the corner. She was afraid of eating the food. She covered herself in mosquito repellent or every place she went. So it took a while for her to see the good side of it because she was so nervous, watching out for all the things that had been fearful to her throughout her life.
And is that similar to your first experiences, do you think?
A little bit, yes. I do remember the first week that we were there, it was quite overwhelming. There were rats on the road outside our $10 a night guest house. The drains were blocked in our bathroom. The streets were dirty and broken up, and everything was dreadfully hot. So yes, part of it was. And it just took a few weeks before finding the magic, really. Finding the magic. And then once that switch was flipped, there was no turning back. And all the wonderful things that I found about Cambodia at that point were the things that I had originally been concerned about and was worried about when I first arrived.
And that feels in a lot of ways very similar to Charlotte's journey, that you just get this sense of being overwhelmed and everything is so different to her life back in the UK. And then slowly, bit by bit, we're with her as she finds her feet and she just falls in love with this fabulous country. Now, both Roxy and her husband Peter are involved in NGOs, creating opportunities for local people who have faced challenges in life, many of them working with women escaping sex trafficking. 57 days, as we've said, is a special number in the book. We go back 57 days. There's this sense for her of something's going to happen in 57 days' time. And for you, you're giving the profits from the first 57 days of sales to a project in Cambodia, which is very dear to your heart, the Justice and Soul Foundation, set up by your friend and my friend, Matthew Fairfax. And Matthew is here with us tonight, all the way from Cambodia. Just, hi, Matthew. You can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Lovely. Matthew, tell us a bit about this fantastic charity that you've set up and which Gabby is donating profits to.
Well, the charity Justice and Soul Foundation was actually what brought Gabby and I together. So because what I did was we set up a foundation, and our goal was to work with survivors of sex trafficking to teach them vocational skills, primarily cosmetology, hair, nails, and skin, so that they had a way out of trafficking and out of the life, because that is one of the biggest challenges of traffic survivors, is getting in to a vocation. So I, in 2012, came over here to scout out my third trip to see could we actually build a school and a salon and create a self-sustaining operation, so we didn't have to ask for donors to pay for the whole thing. So donors only pay a portion of the scholarships, but most of the scholarships for our students come through the salon itself. So I met Gabby when I came in 2012 because I wanted to see if I could make some friends over here. And after I met them, I decided I'm in, I can do this. I sold everything but my salon and my kids in Seattle. And I moved to Cambodia in July of 2013. We opened our doors on for the first academy on July 2014. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. And we've graduated now a dozen students, and several graduates are now working in the salon. They've learned English, math, science, self-esteem and confidence. And so they're able to take clients that are Westerners that typically will intimidate a Khmer young person, and they're confident and they have the ability to chat with them. So it was fun to read Gabby's book and relive some of my experiences, like Gabby was saying, those first few weeks of coming to Cambodia. And I'm thinking, holy shit, am I gonna be able to do this? There's no way, especially when you cross over Shit Creek and it smells so bad. And yeah, so I remember I had little flashbacks of all of those things that happened in the book. So it was great. And we are super thrilled and super excited to have Gabby include us in the process of launching this book.
Well, it's such a good project you've set up, doing such good and important work. Gabby, what made you say, actually, these are the people who I want to support with sales from this book?
Well, firstly, it's not profits that are going to Justice and Soul. It's
right.
it's the whole process. It's all the proceeds for the first 57 days. So everybody who buys a book now for the next 57 days, every penny of that is going to Justice and Soul. So that's one of the things that I would really like to encourage, to please spread the word. Yes, of course, I want people to read my book, but I do want people to see the work that Matthew's doing and the wonderful work he's doing in Cambodia. And that's a great reason to buy a book to help him out.
And if people wanted to buy 20 copies for all of their friends for Christmas, for instance, is that okay?
Only 20?
Not everyone has as many friends as you, Gabby.
One other thing that I just want to add there too, in the book, there's quite a few coincidences and situations that happen. And one real life coincidence, which struck me as I was putting this together just the last couple of weeks, is the 57 days, the period that's covered in the book. Since my book is being launched tomorrow, November 9th, which happens to be Cambodian Independence Day, that's the reason why I wanted it to be launched on that day. But if you count 57 days from tomorrow, it takes you up to January 5th. And January 5th, coincidentally, happens to be the day that Charlotte arrives in Cambodia.
Spooky. So in fact, talk a bit about that, because there's this fabulous sense in the whole book that there are bigger things out there than just us. There's bigger forces kind of driving us, pulling us, guiding us, that coincidences are never really coincidences. Any other examples? I know you've said to me in the past that you've got all sorts of coincidences in your life around the writing of this book and things that have happened.
Whew. Have I? I don't recall specific coincidences. I think it's really more tapping into the Buddhist philosophy, which was something that was always appealed to me. And that's why I have a monk in the book who introduces some of the Buddhist lessons of letting go, trusting, believing that things will work out the way that they are destined to work out. And that was one of the messages that I wanted to get across in the book. So, which is also my philosophy in a lot of ways, is believe things will will work out, and always see that glass half full. And if it's half empty, then fill it with champagne.
Why not? So fabulous. Matthew is in Cambodia right now. I am obviously in Cambodia myself. Fake news. Why don't you take us all to Cambodia for a moment and give us a second reading?
Oh, yes, okay. Then I shall do so. This second reading is from a point where Charlotte has just gone to Silk Island. She's traveling around the country for reasons you will see when you read the book. And this part is when she's on her way back from a visit to Silk Island for the day. As the enormous iron vessel left the riverbank, Charlotte wedged her bike between a rusty car, 2 motorbikes, and a food cart selling sticky rice and packets of crisps. The hot wind blew through her hair, and she drank deeply from the water bottle as she watched small wooden boats float past, groaning under the weight of a day's vegetable harvest. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, catching the eye of a bare-chested Cambodian man in baggy trousers, who seemed amused to see a tall foreign woman in mud-splattered shorts. She grinned self-consciously, and he smiled and moved to the other side, exposing a group of men who were leaning on their motorbikes, smoking cigarettes. A loud laugh bellowed from one of the men bending over the railing, an arm dangling over the side. As he raised the cigarette to his lips, his sleeve fell back, uncovering a dragon tattoo. Charlotte took a quick step backwards into the shadows, her heart beating faster. She peeked around the edge and saw the man with the tattoo gesturing to a girl with a basket of mangoes who came over to him. He said something to her, bellowing with laughter when she ran away, then turned back to his friends and took a deep drag on his cigarette. As he did, Charlotte got a good look at his profile. She also recognized the laugh. It was Hassan. And you have to find out who Hassan is.
I was going to say, and that's quite a moment when she recognizes Hassan and finds that he is there on the same planet. But who is he? What is he doing there? What role does he have in her life? You'll have to buy at least one, if not 20 copies of the book and find out. Roxy said, and I love how you write about Cambodia in this book. It is so full of life and the fact that you were there and you know this country and you know these places, and there's people there that in it as characters who I met when I visited you there, and people that I recognize. Roxy says in it, you'll find most people you meet in Cambodia are either running away from something or running towards it. Which were you doing?
Oof. Probably a little bit of both, Pete. We weren't really running away from anything. I think we were walking away from a lifestyle that we felt had suited us beautifully for many years, and we were in a place where we were ready to try something new and to have some new adventures. So we were running or walking or flying away from a life that had become a little bit stagnant, wonderful, but a little bit stagnant, towards an unknown, towards a place we knew nothing about. We didn't even know where Phnom Penh was before we arrived there. And walking into a situation that we thought, it's going to be an adventure, it's going to be like nothing we've ever known before. We can always leave if we have to, but we don't want a plan B. This is what we want. So we were walking towards something that we thought would change our lives, and it absolutely did.
Beautiful. Tell us about, I'm going to open up to other questions from other people in just a moment, but two things I want to ask you about first. Tell us about the title. What does Whisper of the Lotus mean?
Well, the lotus is really a metaphor for Charlotte's life. The story of the lotus, the flower, is that it's a beautiful flower that begins life underwater, buried in mud. And as it starts to grow towards the surface, its petals open and unfold. And as it reaches the surface of the water, it pushes away the mud and it blossoms and reveals itself as a beautiful flower to the surface. And so this was really my symbol for Charlotte, for her growing and developing and blossoming and emerging as a beautiful flower, having been buried in mud most of her life.
And tell us about the cover, because I know you're very fond of your beautiful cover.
I'm very fond of this beautiful cover because of my wonderful friend, Sue Timpson, who is on this call, I know. And Sue lives in Brighton. She's a friend and she's a wonderful graphic artist, and she's an incredible cake decorator and designer. And I worked with Sue on creating this. Firstly, I came up with a really strange idea because I'm not really a graphic designer. And Sue took this and we worked together on the colors, the designs, and she just came up with this absolutely beautiful design, which I'm so thrilled to bits. And as I said to Sue, I think it's really a beautiful cover with some words inside.
It's a beautiful cover with some very beautiful words inside, and a fantastic gripping story. We're going to see anybody else who would like to ask something. You can, if you don't want to say yourself, but you just want to write it down into chat, you can bung a question in there and I'll happily read them out. Otherwise, if you just indicate with either just put your real hand up or put a little Zoom yellow hand up, if you know how to do that, and then I'll invite you to unmute and ask. If you have read the book, then I'll just say, please don't accidentally drop any spoilers into your question. There's all sorts of things that happen that Gabby wants to keep fresh for anybody reading it for the first time. So just bear that in mind. But anything about the story, about influences, about Gabby's writing process, anything like that, Marios, we are coming to Marios. Unmute yourself and ask away.
Hi, everyone. Gabby, you remember I always interview you when there is a book out. And listening to what you've said and what the discussion was, I have a question for you. What was your feeling when you captured the idea of the book and you started writing the first page? And what is your feeling when the book was finally printed?
Ooh, good question, Marius. Well, firstly, it was never my intention to write a novel. I did not ever think I had it in me, and I really didn't want to do it until my husband kind of twisted my arm and suggested to me it might be something I might want to do. And then once that idea was planted, I did find things started to float into my consciousness. So I was in an airport and watching people in an airport traveling that inspired me. And I just felt, you know, we spend so much time in airports and people have so many challenges, and particularly if they don't speak the language or they're struggling, that I found myself really drawn to watching the way that they traveled and the experiences they had. So that was what started me going, Marius. I mean, that was kind of the idea. Putting pen to paper was just kind of writing down notes, flowing things. And it really actually flowed really, really well when I started, because I really enjoyed the process of doing it. The ending was a completely different story, because as Skip knows, I think a lot of people had to twist my arm and say, at some point you actually have to stop, because otherwise I probably would be continuing to write this for the next 5 years, because there's more editing, there's more ideas, there's a new way of telling a story, there's words that you don't like the way they are and you want to rewrite them. So eventually, I think it was when I set myself a date of November 9th, and I said that's the date that it has to be out because of Cambodian Independence Day and various other reasons. And one of the hardest things to do was to write the words, the end. But I did that.
Lovely. We're going to, I'm going to follow up with a question from Donna next, because that seems to flow. Donna, do you want to ask yourself? Or do you want to, if you want to unmute your,
Sure,
there
sure,
you go.
yep, sure. Hi, everyone. So Gabby, I'm interested to know if the book ended up when you finally typed the end. How different was it from when you started, where you thought this book would end up, how you thought it would end? And hi, everyone.
Thanks, Donna. Quite different in some ways, but the same in a lot of ways. The story basically stayed the same. A lot of it got cut and tightened up, and I added a couple of new characters along the way. It changed, and it changed the more that I learned about writing. I spent a week in a writing program in France, which was one of the best and the most intense things for me, because it was 5 days of doing nothing but writing and thinking about it. And that really gave me the time to focus on how I wanted it to be different, and reading it to other people and getting feedback. So I think by the end of it, it was a similar story, but told in a very different way, and hopefully a lot better than the when I first started.
Thank you. So I asked you earlier about your first impressions of Cambodia and how those were similar or different to Charlotte's. Jonska has a question which kind of follows up from what we talked about then. Jonska.
Hello. Gabby, in what way did Cambodia change your life? And can you compare it to Charlotte's, how she changed during visiting Cambodia?
Right, thank you. Charlotte's life changed in that she became more independent, and she discovered more about who she was. And it's kind of an evolving story for her, because she's at that point and she's moving into what the next part of her life is going to be. For us, the way it changed our lives was seeing how other people lived and seeing how incredibly fortunate and blessed we were in every aspect of our life, in being able to be in a place where we could make a difference in a very small way. And I'm not talking just financially, and which was huge, whatever you can do there, but just making a difference, connecting with people, and just encountering some of the gentlest, kindest, most beautiful people that we've ever met, touched our hearts so much, and we feel that it's really hard to find another Cambodia anywhere else in the world, and we will always miss it.
If I can ask a follow-up question, but what is then what Cambodia did in changing that view and in touching your heart, other than other countries that you visited? What is more special about Cambodia than other countries?
I think it was probably going there with having absolutely no expectation or no idea, Janska. You know, most of the places we'd been to, we had some idea of what we were going to. We really didn't in Cambodia. And I just think that being around the people that we were around there, it was just an enlightening awakening of what it was like to be in a third world country and how our lives were affected by the people that we met there. And some of that is actually in the book as well. One of the characters in the book is a man by the name of Somon, who was our tuk-tuk driver for 3 years. And we became really good friends with Somon. We got to know his family. We spent time with at his home, and we still communicate with him on Facebook. But in the book, he is a real character, and everything that I write about Somon, the stories, the experiences that we had with him, are all pretty close to exactly the way they were.
Fantastic. We are Francie. We have a question from Francie. If you want to unmute yourself.
Gabby, is there going to be a book 2? There's so much more to Charlotte.
Oh, Francie, that's a terrible question to ask. This is how it all started, you know. It began as not even being a book 1, and then suddenly there was a book 1. So
I'm curious about how much of it is autobiographical, Gabby, and I know that you are not obligated to respond, but if it is autobiographical, then there must be a book 2.
I think we need to talk some more about that, Francie. It is, I guess, in some ways, yes, there is certainly parts of my life and parts of me in the book, of course. I think we all do that when we write. So there is autobiographical part to it, and her experiences of being there and why she went there, I think, is autobiographical. And yes, it does end in a place where you kind of wonder what next. I mean, I do as well. I wonder what next. I'm not quite sure I have it in me to do a second book, so the jury's out on that one.
It's always good leaving an audience wanting more. But I think all those questions are really interesting, and going on this big adventure with her, both in her inner life and physically across the world. It does leave us going, oh, what next? What happens next in that journey? What will she be like 57 months later, 57 years later? Who knows? But we've run out of time, Gabby. We have questions about whether you're going to translate it into Khmer, which I don't know, maybe that, I know that you did learn some. That's probably quite challenging.
Yeah, right. I know about 30 words. That probably wouldn't go terribly far.
So just to wrap up, we have 2 things there for today, just to celebrate whilst we're all still online. One, of course, is your book. And just from everybody here, and you've got lots of messages in the chat, which we'll save if you haven't managed to read them.
Thank you.
People saying congratulations and well done, an amazing accomplishment. How fantastic to finish a book, how much people loved it. It really is a massive achievement. It's a fantastic read. It really does keep you turning the pages till the end. So let's have a round of applause for Gabby's book. And secondly, if everyone wants to unmute themselves, I can't actually unmute everybody, because the second thing to celebrate is somebody has a birthday tomorrow. I wonder who that could be. So there's a few people unmuted. Everyone needs to unmute because Gabby, we're going to sing Happy Birthday to you, led by your husband in the room next door. After 3. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy
Happy birthday to you.
That was so beautiful.
Thank you. Can I just add one thing quickly before everybody goes away?
It's your day. You do what you want, love.
I have a very big thank you to the man in the pink t-shirt in front of the Cambodian scene. Pete has not only been an amazing host for today, he has been an incredible sense of support. His writing is brilliant, and I am so lucky to have him in my life, because I remember sitting for 4 hours on a couch in a pub with him while he went through every detail of my book and giving me lots of feedback and lots of great response. So thank you to Pete for being a wonderful friend and a wonderful host and a wonderful writer.
It's a joy. Thank you. There's nothing else from us. It's fantastic seeing so many people here. It's fantastic spending time with you, talking about your book. Do buy copies. Do buy copies as presents. If you do buy copies, pop a review on Amazon, pop a review on Goodreads. It really does make a difference to authors who are just trying to get their work out there.
So Pete, can I just jump in one more time and say how grateful we are at the foundation that you thought of us, that you wanted to support us. And so yes, everybody tell all your friends, because if they buy now, it goes right into our funds to be able to not only bring on more students this year, but we're also looking at building a new program in the United States, in Seattle area. So we'll have a domestic program too. So thank you, Gabby. Thank you so much.
And just
Gabby, whilst you're still there, sorry, Gabby, we've just got a couple of questions about buying your book.
Yes.
Where's the best place to buy? Should people buy from Amazon? Should I buy elsewhere?
Unfortunately, I have to say the only place you can buy it is Amazon. So yes, and as I know the official launch is tomorrow, but everybody on this call, I mean, it is available right now. So if you want something to do on Sunday, other than reading the papers for what's going on in the rest of the world, Amazon's the place to go.
Got it.
Thank you, Kate.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for coming. Lovely to see friends. Bye all.
Thank you all.
Gabby.
Bye.
And thank you to my wonderful husband. Buy one of his books too.
Yes, his book was awesome too.
Exactly.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Congrats, Gab.
Love you. Wow, this is mad. All the squares are disappearing. Hey, Roberta.
Funny, isn't it?
Look at all the squares are disappearing.
Kirsty.
It's fine. Gabby, I'm leaving it open, so chat to anyone. Kirsty, have a chat.
Yeah. That's okay.
Birthday, Gabby.
Oh, it's just lovely to see these little faces.
So happy for you, really. Kirsty.
Thank you. It's so good to see you. Kirsty, you look gorgeous.
Thanks.
Hi, Sally.
See you tomorrow at some point.
Probably, yes. See you soon, Sally, around the corner. Sally's the only local one here.
Oh, is Kirsty gone? I was just going to say her hair looks fantastic.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? I thought so too. And your hair looks fantastic, Pete, as well.
Always.
Mm.
Always. I base it on Ramon's.
Okay, guys, I guess we need to say good evening. And Ramon, you can get to bed now.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's lovely to see you all. Thank you, Pete.
Okay, thanks all. Lots of love to Cambodia, Ramon.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
see you soon.